because of it.
Are breaking. I think we're joined now by Butch Austin. Is that correct, folks in the control room? Former chopper pilot here for us here.
Long-time chopper pilot.
Yeah,
Butch
here
Austin.
Yes. WCNC Charlotte.
Very experienced. Worked with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department as well, and very familiar with the situation in trying to make an emergency landing. Butch, how difficult is that?
It can be extremely difficult when you're in a crowded area where you have a lot of homes and businesses and things like that. Your glide ratio is about a 2-to-1 on a helicopter like that.
Which is very, very difficult. Airplanes, smaller craft have a much better glide path. Butch, you know where he is. You know that he's in that one area, that one small wooded area there near the interstate, and brought that down and tried to bring it down in a safe way. Unfortunately, instead of a crash landing, it was unfortunately a fatal crash.
Yeah, it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, very difficult. Butch, being a pilot himself and knowing a lot of these people. You heard the mention a moment ago of a helicopter. That's the Charlotte Police Department helicopter flying above, investigating the scene. So that's why there's a helicopter in the area right now. But right there between Interstate 77, Tyvola, and Nations Ford, it is a big travel area. It's also, Ben, you were saying this a while ago, the number of businesses that are there, the number of hotels and industry within that area, and that's where the crash site is, that one small wooded area.
Butch, it's so important in a situation like this to speak with context and perspective, and helicopters are overwhelmingly a safe method of transportation, but what are the challenges a helicopter pilot faces on a day like this?
Well, there are a lot of challenges on flying either airplane or helicopter, because you've got to keep your head on a swivel, especially in tight airspace like Charlotte. You've got a lot going on, a lot of traffic, and I train pilots and sign them off on their flight checks. I ride with the FAA every year to get my check, and then I fly the pilots to give them their flight checks and training. And you train for these types of situations: losing an engine, losing a tail rotor, mechanical failures. But it's still tough.
But you bring up an important point. Once you're up in a chopper, you know this and you've seen this firsthand. But flying a chopper in an urban setting is 1,000 times more difficult than elsewhere, just because you referenced it. There's so many different variables. There's so many different things in your field of view.
Absolutely. You're constantly looking for what they call forced landing areas, which is if you do lose an engine. And I lost 2 in the military years and years ago. I've been flying 45 years now. So you're constantly looking for that. But when you're in the confines of space like he was in, if you lose an engine, you don't have many places to go.
Well, at least he knew what he was doing. This particular helicopter is a 1999. It sounds like that's old, but well maintained and obviously airworthy and used quite often. Have you ever flown that type of helicopter, the one that crashed today?
I have got a very limited amount of time. I flew a lot of bigger aircraft than that one, but I do have a few hours in that type of aircraft. They're a decent aircraft. It's for whatever you're going to use it for. You look at the cost, but the age of the aircraft, I don't put a lot of stock in, because everything on an aircraft gets replaced by either flight hour time limits and inspection process.
You know, we see helicopters. Is that the 2-passenger, the 2-person helicopter, or does it carry 4 people?
That one carries 2.
Yeah. Okay.
And Butch, you mentioned it briefly, but I just want to drive in on the fact, because it does appear that this pilot did his level best to avoid what was a crowded interstate and crowded parking lots and crowded office parks and schools, 3 schools around that area. You're saying that the helicopter pilot's trained to always be looking for that possible place that would be the safest to go down or to land.
Absolutely. It's constantly on a pilot's mind, especially a helicopter, because of the glide ratio. You 2 forward feet for 1 foot that you fall, and we typically fly at about 800 feet above ground level here. Keeps us legal with the FAA and keeps us below the airplane traffic. So you don't have a lot of time.
So you're about 800 feet up. What is the speed of a helicopter cruising at that time?
That one's probably around 80 knots, something like that.
Okay.
So, Butch, you talked about the training and that you train for situations like this. How does that training? How does that go? How is that something that you plan for in a situation like this?
Well, the pilots that are in what's called Part 135 operations, or for like the TV stations, they have to take a ground school and flight training course every year. Doesn't matter how much flight time they've got, and then they have to satisfy the FAA requirements of a flight check to make sure that the check pilot signs them off on their abilities to perform emergency procedures.
So it's pretty extensive.
Failures, yeah.
Well, obviously this pilot was well trained and knew what he was doing, trying to save lives, and unfortunately their life was lost in the process.
Butch Austin, longtime WCNC Charlotte helicopter pilot. Butch, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Butch. Great.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good day, as good as you can have. Yeah.